Welcome to Iblis Manifestations. Michael, my very good friend. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast, man. Holy shit, 4 years. You were one of the very first guests to ever appear on Iblis Manifestation, the third one, if I remember correctly. How the fuck are you doing today?
Good, Cheyenne. How am I doing? Wow. Well, 4 years later, it's something, isn't it? Look, we touched up on metal. We touched up on politics a little bit without getting too zealous. We kind of heckle people who make it their whole identity, personality. That's clearly gotten worse out there now in 4 years.
Shit, now that you're saying it, I'm remembering that now, yeah.
Yeah, I stand the same. I'm like,
sure.
It's just to be, why, what's the point of always being miserable? Whatever wing, left wing, right wing, chicken wing, I don't give. Well, why are you a miserable human being? Why are you like this? You have to have some kind of hobby. There has to be something that you can do with your hands or your brain other than, just hold up signs and yell at the sky and, I'm changing. I'm resisting. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same frequency when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, look, there's a time and a place for outrage, and I always feel like, there are certain things where we should see outrage for where we don't really see it, or it kind of gets shrugged off, and then certain other things that should be kind of met with a little bit more of gray area courtesy, should we call it, and then there is outrage on those things, and people get into that tribal mode, and there's wholesale ideologies that people subscribe to, which I think fundamentally is something that I'm personally against, because it is it's the antithesis to personal liberation and freedom and individuality, which are very much the values I personally uphold.
Yes, I agree. I don't understand, like, where did all the hobbies go? Like, I had such an amazing childhood in the, the 1980s, and, you like G.I. Joe. I like G.I. Joe too. Let's be friends. You like riding your BMX bike. I like riding my BMX bike too. Let's be friends. Like, what? I kid you not. I recently saw 3 small boys riding BMX bikes, and I was like, I had to like slam my brakes. I was driving. I had to slam my brakes. And like, that is travel back in time. What am I seeing here? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like,
That's
and
good.
this is what we've become. Like, that spectacle is a spectacle for some reason. I legit thought I took a DeLorean back in time. Why are we like this now? My God.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. Obviously, it's good that some people keep their traditions alive in that sense, But tell you what, man, I've been looking forward to talking to you today. There's been a lot that's happening, and I kind of purposely with all this stuff that's been happening over in Iran at the moment, I've almost found it difficult to actually do podcasts about it, even though obviously I've done a couple of them recently. But it's really fucking difficult to do it because of how fucking quickly everything is shifting, and every day there's like new updates, and then it's constantly changing. And I'm gonna bet that by the time this episode comes out, probably something else has changed again, But before we get into that, we will definitely talk about the Iran situation. But how have you been in the meantime? What are some updates from you personally that we should be aware of, at least, that's happened since last time you were here?
Well, yeah, outside of what you just touched up on, given in the metal culture. I represent ViaOmega magazine. We did a little more than a half dozen issues. If I remember correctly, 8 or 9, excuse me for not remembering ago. Well, I came on board a little later in the game of when they were doing print. So I actively participated in 2 of the print issues. Now we're, with print, just the cost of print, hoping to God you sell your stock, having to store them. They're laying around doing nothing, not moving until, you sell them. And then, shipping overseas is a nightmare, regardless of the tariffs, this and that politics. Just a lot of our audience is overseas, but I'm still keeping, I took ownership of the online platform. The website is still ViaOmega.com. There's still a big social media presence, a lot of good social media interaction. So, it'll press on, it'll live on, regardless. Obviously we go to our staff, we have staff Europe and America. We go to concerts immediately. We post concert footage, still do an album of the week. Once a month, at least, I try to do an album review of my liking. And I know reviews are kind of, going out with the 1990s, but it's just fun. Like, I enjoy it. Like, yeah, sure. Okay. Is anybody reading the review? Maybe, just a few people, but I enjoy, and I just enjoy just the social aspect of it, the camaraderie, the social interaction. So, the next show, I'm really excited for this show. Oh my God. And it's coming where I live in Tucson. If you don't know Tucson, if you're international, it's in Arizona, Southwestern United States. Next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, Onslaught and Warlord. My
Killer.
God, I can't tell you how excited I am for that. Onslaught's evidently going to do songs from their first 2 albums, which are great. Warlord is known for their Deliver Us EP and re-recording songs from that several times. But what a fantastic, awesome EP. And I can't believe how blessed we are to get it here. So that's one concert that I'm definitely looking forward to. I recently saw Coroner. That was cool. Awesome. Yeah, Coroner and Heathen. So it's good to see these bands that have been around almost as long as I've been alive, still actively touring, and, small venues, but still, getting these small venues full and a lot of good energy. And you will see like parents with their kids there, which is awesome. I'm like, wow, what cool parents. Now that's real parenting.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, for sure, man.
And I don't have kids, but I mean, who am I to say anything about what real parenting is? But you know what it starts with? Fucking trying and caring, like all things in life. Fucking caring. So you care to be a parent. You don't just see your kid as a tax write-off, and then you're doing a good job from an outside observer who doesn't have that experience.
Fuck yeah, bro. Look, I hear that. I'm with you on that one, and I think it's always heartwarming to me when I see parents bringing their kids to some of these extreme metal shows. I get that. I think some people kind of fixate on the danger element of live shows and music, which I'm certainly to an extent part of that crew, but also at the same time, I think we really need to figure out a way how to kind of pass on the torch when it comes to this heavy metal culture and the way that we kind of configure things, because if we don't do that, then it's going to get done through the internet, and it's not going to be through the proper way, if you will, and to an extent, you're not going to have much control over it. But I think it's really important, when I think kids are brought up in that way. And I think, I've had a very few good experiences with situations like that where people have like brought their kids to TRIVAX shows. And, going as far back as I think maybe like 8 years ago, I remember we did this show in Cheltenham once. And then in this really like tiny farm looking venue. It was a kind of a cool place. It's called the Frog and Fiddle. I think it was on the 8th of January we played there. And fun story actually about that show, our drummer had broken his ankle. So instead of like double kick, he was like doing DBs for most of the songs, which actually kind of fucking worked, so fair play to him for that. But I remember at that show, this dad like brought his like teenage son to me, and then the son was like, you were the first band I've ever seen. And I was like, fuck. Like first band ever, like never mind like first metal or first like black metal band, but first band ever. And I was like very honored to hear that. It's really fucking cool. And we've had quite a few actually situations like that since, and I personally actually find that very heartwarming, and it's always a pleasure, to be popping someone's cherry for the first time, especially with the scale of what we do as well. It's pretty cool.
Well, and also big kudos to your drummer for pressing on with a broken ankle. Now that's real martyrdom. That's the kind of martyrdom I want to hear about.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Are you familiar? I mean, it does beg the question. I'm sure you are, but obviously, you are a tiny bit younger, and you grew up. Well, your experience are Iran and the UK. Are you familiar with Ricky Rackman, the personality, the MTV VJ personality?
I probably recognize his face because I did used to watch a lot of old MTV stuff back in the day. But
he hosted Headbangers Ball when that was a thing. When Headbangers Ball mattered.
Did he like interview Danzig a bunch of times and David Vincent and whatnot?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
From early '90s, right?
Yeah,
I think I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously as a teenager that time, Headbangers Ball was one of our main resources for discovering new bands. I mean, it was supposed to be 90 minutes, I think, 90 minutes of just metal music videos later at night on Saturday. And then, of course, I mean, when the corporations dig their claws into things, like they started playing a lot of grunge, they started playing like Nirvana, Soundgarden. I'm like, haven't these bands already been in your regular rotation every hour of the day? I'm sure these bands played 20 times today. Yeah. Your audience wants to see this show to learn about new, unique bands they otherwise don't have access to, well before the internet, when everything was mouth to ear or just eyeballs. I'm like, why in the hell are you playing Stone Temple Pilots during our precious 90-minute segment of, I want to hear bands I otherwise wouldn't know? Like, show me that Carcass video. Or, I mean, we all knew Slayer, but, seeing a Slayer video was awesome. You just said David Vincent, Morbid Angel. They had some music videos. Like, show me that shit. I don't want to hear anything that played one time already during the daylight hours. That's not why I'm here. But anyway, so I saw him, let's just conveniently say a year ago, maybe it was a year and a half. I saw him do a spoken word kind of stand-up comedy performance, Ricky Rackman. And he said something profound at the end of his performance. He said, look, if you see somebody much younger, a kid with a cool band shirt, don't be that asshole. They make memes about this. Don't be that asshole that goes and say, hey, name 3 songs. Yeah, is that your dad's shirt? Probably is his dad's shirt, but so what? Just go, hey, cool shirt. Be nice, be pleasant, start a conversation. Because if you, and don't get me wrong, gatekeeping does have its time and place. Well, we can talk about that. But, don't go up to some poor kid in a Morbid Angel, in a Bestial Warless shirt, whatever. Be like, hey, name 3 songs. But hey, cool shirt. Hey, let's talk. I
wonder how many kids are walking around in a Bestial Warless shirt. I'd be curious to know.
Watch now that I threw it out there, we're gonna both see it in both of our countries tomorrow. Watch.
I hope so.
I threw it out there. Yeah,
bro, I hope to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I'm an online fitness coach. I make programs for people that'll cover their training and nutrition. And of course, I used to be someone who was extremely unfit, out of shape. I was 119 kilos before, or for the American listeners, that makes it 262 pounds. And I lost about a third of that weight. And I have since kept it off and actually become educated enough to become a fitness coach so that I can help others do the same thing. And that's exactly what we're doing with the Trial by Fire program. I made the mistakes so you don't have to. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you're interested in physical transformation, you can hit me up. You can either send me a DM on social media, or if you want me to get in touch with you, there's a link which you can use. There's a contact form. You can put your details there. Just give me a very brief explanation of what it is that you're interested in, and then I will be in touch with you. Looking forward to hearing from you all. And with that said, enjoy the podcast.
But he said, dude, just be nice to them. Don't be dickish. Don't be dickish because you might see a young girl wearing it. Don't do that. Just be cool. But hey, nice shirt. Like, what's your favorite album? Like, approach it in a pleasant way. Because if you try to gatekeep too damn hard, metal will die. It will, regardless of social media and algorithms and viral this, viral that. And what I was talking about, the gatekeep angle, is like, have you noticed that any band now, I don't want to say any band names in a negative way in a podcast, especially representing ViaOmega. I always said, don't say anything negative. Don't cultivate negativity, hostility at all. But you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of the bigger metal, pseudo metal, even though we're going to call them posers, you and me, bands now, really big bands that are selling gold, selling platinum, selling its Walmart. What do you have there? HMB? What do you? No, not HMB. The media chain you have. HMV.
HMV.
Anyway.
His master's voice.
HMV. Okay, whatever. Yeah, these chains that still sell physical media, and the bands that are front and center at these stores. They're always some stupid gimmick, like some stupid gimmick with costumes, with like outlandish stage presence. Unbelievably stupid lyrics or hypersexual lyrics. If you do that, I guess you'll sell. Ha. You'll speak to the basest form of human consciousness. But it's always silly ass gimmicks. And you can come back with, well, what about Kiss? Which is Kiss even metal? That argument is in a whole different conversation. But when Kiss did it in the early 1970s, it mattered. It was different. It was unique. It was special. It was shocking. Almost 60 years ago.
Well, I don't know if Kiss is metal or not, but they are certainly a foundation of what we know as metal today. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody like Corthon obviously quotes them all the time. All of our icons quotes Kiss. So I mean, yeah, they straddle the fine line between just radio rock and metal, but there was metal aesthetics for damn sure, and the influence was definitely there. But, people go, what about Kiss's gimmick? I'm like, I don't, what happened in 1973 is way different than what happens now. Now it's all just algorithms and, lawyers and board members, shareholders dictating these things. It's a very, and I don't want to name bands because I don't want to, create a negativity. I don't want anybody to come back and harass me on social media. But, the bands that I'm referencing, it's like, yeah, if they didn't do this stupid gimmick, if they just looked as ordinary as you and me, would anybody care? I don't know. I'm going to say no.
Well, I don't know, man. The thing with that is it's a double-edged sword, because also look at it like this. Everything in metal has already been done to death. Okay. And from a business perspective, I mean, from my sort of outlook on the genre, the business side of things was almost like a parasitical excuse for the movement to kind of continue, and kind of, it's that weird relationship, where it's like symbiotic to an extent, but is it actually beneficial? I don't know. But I think it's just a way for it to continue, so we can kind of keep doing this longer, and more and more. And that's why, like, a lot of bands, who are maybe 20 years past their heyday are the biggest and also the most active they've been now, after, long after that heyday, because of things like internet and also because of people discovering their music. But with that said, generally speaking, and this is a statistic, it's like a statistical fact, but a lot of people aren't listening to music to discover new things anymore. Okay. And when that happens, what you need in order to break through that, I'm not encouraging bands and people to do it. I'm just kind of analyzing and breaking down what you're saying from a more business and corporate perspective, which is, again, like I said, parasitical and somewhat symbiotic relation to what we're actually talking about, but you will need things that are different. You will need things that are outlandish or stand out. You will need people who are gonna go on TikTok and cause outrage. But through that outrage, people will start talking about them, and then because people talk about them, their gigs start selling more, and then people just become curious, and then they want to go, and then all of a sudden that band has a big fucking following, and that doesn't necessarily mean that their music is actually good. That doesn't mean that their lyrics actually fucking stand for anything. But I'm just trying to break it down purely from a commercial perspective. That's why that happens. Everything's already been done to death, and it's in a way it's a live graveyard, this subculture, that we kind of walk upon.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And also, coming from a cinema background too, studying cinema in college and, having a bit of a foot in the film industry too, like the way the streaming wars didn't quite go the way I guess the big studios wanted, but now there's an overabundance. I do say this word. I say shovelware a lot because it is goddamn shovelware. It's content for the sake of content without any quality control, without just, let's just put as many thumbnails as we can on your TV or on your tablet or on your phone. And hopefully the thumbnail, it's just like, it's almost like cinema became YouTube. Is YouTube the new cinema now? Are they the new media? Are they the new content and narratives that we want to see? But just, when you just create content for the sake of content, like now, there's this big in the West fetishizing Asian culture, hey, just put a few Asian people on the thumbnail and, we'll get these goofy people over here to just watch it because, it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, is the story good? Is it engaging? Is it compelling? Do I relate to any of the characters or the situations? What is their struggle? What is their, 3-act narrative, beginning, middle, and end, what is the conclusion? Like, you just trying to give me these just put a Star Wars stormtrooper in as much thumbnails as now Star Wars turned into shovelware content. It used to be 25 years ago, I would jump up and down with excitement of anything new Star Wars. I have a Star Wars tattoo even, but now I'm so apathetic. I'm so like, I just don't care. You made it so embarrassingly bad. You made it lazy. You made it so not good. Oh, fuck you. It's just Star Wars. You'll watch it. Yeah, that lasted about a month. And now I don't care at all. Like, there's no excitement for anyone because you made it fucking shovelware. You made content for the sake of content with no quality control. With the fuck you, you'll just watch it anyway. These people look like this. It has this logo on it. You'll watch it because you think we're that stupid. And just will consume anything you make with zero QC.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so, I canceled all my streaming service. I'm like, you're not making content I want. I have a overabundance of physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays, other formats that'll keep me busy for forever. Every now and then, like Amazon Prime, without having, they have a really good vault of older films, of foreign films, older foreign films even. Every now and then I'll go on Amazon Prime. I don't pay a monthly service, a monthly fee for the service. It just comes with your Prime package for your orders and everything too, all the other perks. But they have an awesome vault of like older genres I like, older exploitation, very old horror, international horror, spaghetti westerns, of course.
Well, the thing with that is, what's happening is, so that Star Wars example, I think, is quite relevant. And that is a symptom of a much greater thing, which I'll try and break it down for you. So, I know exactly what you're referring to. So obviously Star Wars was bought by Disney. And once they did The Mandalorian, which was extremely successful, I'll give that to them. But then they start doing these spin-off series off of it as well, which I personally didn't mind them. But the problem with it is the fact that they are dealing with numbers. You have to understand, this is like old. It's no longer an art form. Yeah, exactly. It's no longer an art form. And unfortunately, it is quantity over quality. Which, by the way, is also a symptom of how social media works, which I'll touch upon in a moment. But for them, a lot of people are addicted, okay? A lot of people use these TV shows as a way of escapism, which, to an extent, I don't necessarily want to fault them for that. But the way that looks like on numbers and on paper is the fact that as soon as people finish watching a show, immediately what's the first thing that comes to their mind? They look for another show to fill the hole. So now what you're doing
sometimes
here,
just seamlessly continues another show for you. It does a little 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then the next whatever the fuck. It may not even be a related show like in that serialized show. It may just be something similar the algorithm dictated for you. But like,
exactly.
Content after content.
This is a part of what happens for sure. But also a lot of that's not always going to be the case. So what you're going to get, let's say if you're using a platform like Disney want you to stay on Disney so that you have more watch time on there. The higher watch time you have on there, the more you're exposed to their advertisement, which means that the more value they're bringing to their advertisement, which means that they're going to get more money. It's as simple as that. So by doing that, they'll create these spin-offs of the same story. Yeah. By doing that, they'll create spin-offs of the same story and the same franchise. So you're like, oh, well, I finished that. So now I'll jump onto that other series. And this is kind of like it saves you from that little fatigue. It's the same as like Sons of Anarchy and the Mayans, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with these. These are, I think, they're pretty solid shows. But you have to look at it like that. Now, how does this relate to social media? So this is something that I've kind of been dealing with more and more, especially now being a fitness coach as my full-time job, literally social media, whether you like it or not, it's almost like 80% of the work, and I kind of don't want it to be that way. And I'm someone that puts a lot of thought into my content. I don't like to just take cheap shit and put it out there. However, the blueprint, if you want to get exposure, is to put as much shit out there as possible, because you never know who's going to see which piece of content that you're putting out there. So obviously the quality is going to suffer in that situation, but unfortunately, that is how it's going to work. Like you can never release one reel and be like, oh, that had a few thousand views, I'm done now. No, you literally need to, the advice is that you release like about 3 a day. 3 reels a day, which I'm not going to do that. Sometimes that happens if I do collaborations with people, or I just did an appearance on a TV show last night and they're pumping shit out every second. But like, that's kind of how this works, man. That's the way things are moving forward. People, it's not just the fact that the system is trying to keep people plugged in, but people want to stay plugged in. People want to stay distracted. So this is the way you kind of counter that when it comes to content creation. We live for
instant gratification and, instant dopamine hits, regardless of consequences. Is this going to, come back to bite me today, tomorrow, next year, 20 years? No, I want that dopamine hit, that serotonin rush right the fuck now. And if I have to burn the world down to get it, I shall. But, we become very nihilistic and cynical. I'm not saying I have it, my God, but I try to recognize it at least, and I try to not put it so far out in public spheres and such. Try to just internalize it and tell myself what I could do better. Hey, calm down, collect yourself. Don't cause a stir. Or maybe there are situations where that's welcome. Maybe a lot of metal shows, a lot of like not industry, manufacturing shows, but a lot of the more underground shows, DIY shows, maybe we can have these conversations easier and better. We all understand each other. We relate better, shared experiences, shared outlooks on life and civilization. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. And look, this is, as I said, we need to understand, like, it's a symptom of a greater thing. I think this is why I kind of find myself at a point of, instead of blaming cinema or blaming TV shows or blaming music or blaming this or that, understanding that unfortunately this is an overall progression of the human race and the modern world. Okay, and I know that's kind of stating the obvious, but it is a problem, because it's going to bleed into every areas that we're doing. And now, of course, with the rise of AI within the area of content creation, which, as a tool, again, if you're going to, let's say, for example, if you're going to use AI to, I don't know, re-render the resolution of something so it looks better, I personally don't see a problem with that, because to me, that's kind of like, I don't know, like how is that different from like mixing or whatever? But
funny you say what you.
when you start using it, I'll finish my point in just a second, but like when you start using it to actually create ideas instead of having it just as a supplement, then that's where it becomes really fucking tricky, because then now we're losing the muse, if you will, or at least our connection to it, which to me, as far as the human experience is concerned, it's one of the most paramount important parts of our existence.
Yeah. Funny you said about re-rendering and upscaling and such. This was very controversial. I don't know if you heard, but so James Cameron evidently, from what I understand, I read a few articles. It's been a while. I didn't actually see what he did to his older films. He took his older films and used AI to upscale them, because, older films kind of sometimes look old based on it was shot on film. Obviously different cameras look different film stock looks different, all equipment can make a particular look to a film, especially back in the analog days of splicing and dicing your film together, So he took his older films, used AI to scrub them to basically upscale the resolution. So they have a uniform look. They all look like they're from the same era of film. And it was so kind of, I heard the people's skin looked bizarre, looked waxy, like it was. And then he admitted to using AI, and then he got a lot of criticism for that, saying, "Oh, that's lazy. You are probably the most successful filmmaker ever, at least from a financial standpoint." But why wouldn't you just do it, the blue collar way, so to speak, and use actual human labor to upscale it instead of just having AI make everything try to look uniform, and it just looks lazy, and it's also a cop-out. But sadly, I do agree with you, using it to create, I mean, we've seen, and I'm not going to say which bands again, but some bands, in fact, one big band last week, legacy band from the UK, starts with V. They got a lot of controversy for their latest album cover being made by AI, and it's very obvious.
I don't know. Who is it? Who's fucking done that? It's not Venom, is it?
Look at me.
Oh, bro. Hang on. I need to look this up for myself.
Yeah, there were memes about that album cover. There were they took that album cover and made it like into other artwork to heckle it.
I've just seen it. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, it went viral. Well, also, and it's just lazy in the sense that it looks like your older album covers. Are you not even trying? Like, not only is it AI, there's that to begin with, but also, it looks like black metal album cover. It's like you didn't even try.
That's sad. Thanks for breaking my heart this early in the day. I mean, it's 5:30, but still.
I mean, we can even talk about what is that band doing? 45 years still anyway. It's like, guys. Like, I
don't know. I saw them in Norway a couple of years ago. They were cool. I was stood there watching them with my friend Roman, and we were like, okay, this is cool. Nice to hear some of those songs, but yeah,
sure.
That AI cover thing hurts my feelings a little bit.
As it should. If I didn't have to travel too far and the concert ticket was cheap, yeah, maybe I'd go to see whatever version they're going by now. I heard there's like 3 versions even. Like, I don't know, do all 3 of the original members have their own? Did it turn into like a Queensryche thing where there's like all these Frankenstein versions? I'm not sure. I'll have to do some research.
Yeah, Venom's kind of the new Batushka at the minute, but
oh dear,
I won't get into that because I have friends involved in at least one of those projects. But you know what? The thing I will say as well. About a couple of years ago, I had a really good conversation. It was like a 4-way conversation on the podcast with so it was with my friends Dial from Cold Never Dies.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was Chris from Shamash and Adrian Baxter, who's a fantastic artist, so it was between 4 of us, and the conversation was predominantly focused on the AI situation when it relates to art, at least, because that's the line of work that all 4 of us are involved with one way or another. And one thing that I can't remember which one of the guys pointed this out, which kind of made me think, I'm sure it was Dial who mentioned it. Sometimes these bands don't necessarily give a fuck about what the artwork is, and it's usually something that's like the work of the label. And I'm not saying that's necessarily like the case for like Venom, but like, we had that with I'm not going to name the other bands. Everyone already knows because we kind of went through a phase of it a couple of years ago. But like, you know, a band like Venom at this point in their career, who knows? Like, are they actually bothered? Are they going to look into, what, you know, like who's doing the artwork or what is it? You know what I mean?
And look at just how lazy, you know, the last album cover of the legendary band JP was. You know, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, some of your album covers are iconic.
Let's
and then
you
come and you give us this AI just lazy, like, you know, where I just, they didn't even try, you know, my God. So I'll use AI strictly, I mean, right now until my hands get tied, until I have to use it in a greater capacity. I'm not there yet in anything I do, but the one thing I'll use AI for is like question answer, you know, hey Siri, when was this event in human history? And you know, that's it. It's like answer a question. To create, to build, you know, I'm gonna hold out on that until as long as I can, really.
The JP album cover, as you put it, you're referring to Judas Priest, so
of course
it doesn't look. I mean, it looks kind of on brand, at least. You know, it looks like maybe a little bit more thought went into this one, in my opinion. You're right. I just realized I haven't actually fucking listened to the album, even though they actually recorded one of the videos. This is the fucking flex of the evening. It's like they actually recorded one of the videos from this album at our rehearsal place. Awesome. In Birmingham, which is fucking dope, man. Like, I wasn't there that day. I found out like after they'd done it, and it's literally like down the corridor from where we rehearsed with TRIVAX. I was like, fuck, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good album, you know. I mean, I don't know that I love it, but you know, I gave it several listens. I'm like, okay, you know, this is you guys still have it, you know. Nothing will be Painkiller. I keep hoping for Painkiller Part 2. I'm still that 13-year-old boy. But
but you can't recreate the thing with Painkiller is, man, it's such a fucking powerful album, but it's also very time relevant. Like even that style of production. I mean, the production is fucking ridiculously good for the time, and it just has that leather and chains fucking feel. All I think of it is the music video for Painkiller, and it's just had this fucking hot leather hellish fucking vibe, you know, and just like super fucking aggressive guitars. Oh my god, man.
Well, also understand
I'm getting fucking so excited just thinking about that.
No, and I mean, these are the conversations we should be having, and I've had this conversation innumerable times, and I'll have it, you know, a million more, because I love this particular type of conversation about what we do. Like you do know that they just got done with their sham trial for that kid's suicide. Yeah, you know, their lyrics being blamed for that. So that happened right after the trial was right after Ram It Down, which a very, very mediocre at best album. You know, it's not a whole lot anything to love about that album. But you know, they had some low points in their career too. And then the trial happened. They were exonerated. And then with Painkiller, you can just tell how pissed off and angry they are over the trial and the whole situation. And, you know, just why did this happen to us? Why do we have to deal with this bullshit? That just shows in Painkiller that, you know, and then that song Touch of Evil, the music video and the lyrics also touch up on the trial, you know, and censor. I mean, we could talk about today's censorship's a whole different conversation, but and how just trying to censor, especially in the name of religion at that time, which, you know, seems to be dead in the West in general, let alone our country. I mean, it's still on the fringe, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was when I was growing up, you know. Just how
I do know that, like,
the aggression.
You're talking about the religion part of it. I do know that in America, it seems to be still a lot more prevalent than at least it is here over in Europe, or at least the UK. I mean, in the UK, you know, like, it's just like Christianity is just gone, basically, you know, and
something else is coming, isn't it?
It's not coming. It's already here, bro. And I keep trying to fucking tell people about it. And, you know, and I have no fear. I have no fear of being called any phobes or anything. That religion's a fucking problem, you know. And you and I, as Iranian, as Iranian descent people, perhaps we can talk about that.
I mean, yeah. I insist on, you know, I gladly will, but I still have to be careful, man. I don't trust shit. Yeah, you can't. You just can't anymore. But Yeah. Wow. Europe. Oh my goodness gracious. Like you let that happen just to get bleeding heart points on social media or
Mm.
look like a good person for what?
Well,
For
no.
who? Like I understand you, but also you drew no line in the sand. You drew no boundaries. From what I don't live there, so I don't know as well as you. I mean, and UK being a little detached from the mainland, but I mean, it's still you've traveled all over the continent, so I don't know. You know, your experiences are not mine, and I would trust anything you said over my just
Well, I'd go
Google
as
jockeying.
yeah,
But
yeah. Not to interrupt your flow there, I'd go as far as saying that, like, some parts, like, it depends where you go. Like, the part of the UK that I live, it gets a bit tricky sometimes, but it's not the worst. I think cities like Birmingham and certainly parts of London or Bradford or Croydon, like, some of these places are cooked, man. They're completely fucked. But
you
I
let it
will
happen.
also say
You let it
that
happen.
yeah, I mean, I didn't. I've been trying to warn
Oh, come
people
on,
ever since I got here, but like,
no, I know, but I mean, the collective you,
yeah, yeah, I know.
the laziness, the passiveness, the well, I'll look like a good person right now. I mean, again, people just want that dopamine hit of I'm a good, virtuous person. Look at me, social
Mm.
media now instead of oh shit, 20 years later, oh shit,
Yeah, yeah, no, oh shit, indeed. And here's the
yeah,
thing, man. This is this is the part I was gonna point to. I would go as far as saying some parts of Germany are even worse than the UK. Having traveled all over to Germany, I've been to. I mean, it's actually a fairly large country for like the standards of how big European countries are.
it sure
Um,
has shrunk over time, hasn't it? Yeah.
but but the thing is that I mean, depends which period of time you're looking at. But the thing
That's what I was
is,
referencing. Yeah, just the whoops got smaller and smaller the last 100 years. Oh,
but the thing with that is the fact that it's a fucking problem. Like some parts of it that I've been to. Like we did the tour with Apsu a few months ago. Which was fantastic, by the way. It was us, Ancient, and the Apsu guys, and
oh, god damn, yeah, wow,
a
wow.
hell of a lineup, bro. Like fucking awesome company.
Ancient played a lot of older material.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was the Svartalfheim, the
Oh,
30th anniversary, bro. So that they basically
30
like,
years since that came out. Wow.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It was, so
yeah,
they kind of played, I think, all of the album, if not most of it, and then they
yeah.
did like a
I'm
few
sure
other
that's what
things
the
as well.
audience wanted. I'm sure that you can stop them there. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They still did other songs like Lilith's Embrace, and they ended with Bathory's 13 Candles at the end
Wow.
of the set, which I joined them for like the last 2 dates of the tour on guest vocals. It was pretty fucking fun, man. You bring
I hate to see
Bathory to
that.
the table. I'm not gonna fucking sit by and just be passive and quiet. That's not how
Born
it
a
works.
child beyond the world. Hell yeah, awesome. That's
Yes,
awesome.
exactly, man. But back to the point, like you could see the difference. You'd go to different places, and then like some cities were like fine, and then some other cities like you'd go to Leipzig, and it was just like Leipzig and like Oberhausen, they were like pretty fucked up. I would
More
you'd
live
go
in Leipzig,
outside.
huh?
No, no, definitely not. Like you'd go outside. That pig head wouldn't, it's like it's not halal enough to be included in the show now. So, it's like, but no, it's a problem. We're laughing about it, but it's a fucking problem. Like you didn't, like I'm pretty thick-skinned guy, but I've been all over the world, and some places you go to and you kind of feel fine, but in those particular cities, I felt like I was constantly looking over my shoulder, which I can then imagine how much worse and how much more difficult that is for the women of those kind of places.
You said it. Yeah, you said it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and man, I'm trying to really bite my tongue here too, but it's like,
Don't.
well, this is, I still, I'm not a millionaire yet. I saw people writing me paychecks and, giving me money. So I don't have that level of freedom yet. Just like, there's nothing you can do. You can't touch me. Not there yet. That day will come. and it'll be nice.
But this is the problem, bro. You know, I'm gonna give you a little bit of very gentle, polite pushback on that, just because of what you were saying, where you're saying like, oh, you guys let it happen. Well, it's exactly that mindset that leads to it. It's the thought of, well, I don't want to be the one that gets canceled, or I don't want to be the one that gets targeted.
Sure.
So I won't say anything. And then meanwhile, what happens is that the disease keeps growing, people build resentment, and actually that's going to lead to more problems and further tension and potentially, unfortunately, violence down the line, which none of us wanted to get to that point. That's the reason why it's important to speak up, you know, and, you know, I don't want to say like, yeah, I certainly do not want to appear holier than thou, because I understand the implications of having a job, and I know certain companies, especially the more corporate ones, is really tricky if they hear you saying certain thing, and if it gets taken out of context. I am fully aware of that, but as a collective, if we all spoke against certain things that don't seem to sit right with us, or at least educated ourselves on it, instead of beating the drums of virtue signaling, look at me, I'm a fucking good person, and, you know, weaponizing empathy in many ways, then we would actually have more stability, and we would have more longevity.
I'll tell you this. I read, you know, I know you're not supposed to read comments on posts. I read a comment, I think it was on Facebook, somebody said about it, they go, you know, I've never looked at my investments and gone, oh, they need more empathy. It's like, yeah, where do you draw the line with this empathy? Like, you know, yeah, be a good person, look like a saint, you know, make other people, you know, pat you on the back, take an inventory of all your good deeds, good thoughts, good words. But
nicely played.
Nobody's taking inventory at the end of the day. They're not. And it's like you have to draw a boundary. You have to draw a line somewhere. When your safety gets compromised, when your community goes to high hell or low hell, you got to draw a line somewhere. The empathy only goes so far. You know, the holding up the signs and yelling and, you know, on the sidewalk, it's like, you know, why? Like,
well, I think this is the perfect segue to perhaps bring the discussion over to Iran. So obviously, I was born and raised there, and I don't know that you did you say that? I can't remember, because I know that your parents moved to the US and at very much around the time of the revolution in '79, right? Or was it just before?
76. They were
right. Yeah.
They were married in Shiraz. They were both students at Pahlavi University at the time. It's now Shiraz University. You
that
can't say Pahlavi there.
That might change back soon. We'll see.
So they came to the U.S. as married exchange students with the intent to finish their doctorate program. I happened, so my mother had to not finish college. My father did. And then, so they were here in 76. I am born in 78. And then in 79, oh, whoops. And then the only time I've been to Iran, from what I understand, was if I line up, I was one. So from what I understand, it was during that brief moment of Shapur Bakhtiar, before it all just went to hell, you know, at the speed of lightning. So Bakhtiar was in power, what, a couple of months, if I get the timeline right?
It wasn't long. I know it was a lot more chilled out during that period, and then it went completely tits up right after that.
Yeah.
Until now.
And what would they call it? Bahar Fajr? Is that what they call that little brief moment?
Yeah.
You know, like
that's right.
Oh, the Shah's gone. Bahar Fajr, which for other listeners, a spring of enlightenment, something like that. Spring,
sort of. Yeah. I think that's
but then it turns into
translation.
Bahar Zaj, spring of torture, spring of oppression.
I like that. I've
never heard that? Why have I heard that? Yeah.
No, that's good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that, you know, that because
sorry for everyone listening, we're going through like a couple of Persian sort of twists on words is cool.
And they love their twists on words. They love their slogans. They will every scenario, every protest, every uprising, you know, squashed, not squashed, you know, let's be always squashed. But everything has a slogan to go with it, a rhyme, a chant. You know, you hear thousands of people in the streets, their fists raised up, chanting, you know, something new, pretty catchy, pretty unique. I mean, my God. And then that obviously to our other listeners comes from the Iranian love of poetry, whether the poetry is romantic, funny, or I guess nowadays sad, all about the oppression, isn't it? So, yeah, slogans are a big, the country is run on slogans. And it didn't, Ayatollah Montazeri also say, because he was kind of blacklisted and outcasted, he was under house arrest, right, when he died.
Yeah.
Because he was the benevolent Ayatollah. Sure. Yeah. He said, you cannot run a country on slogans, death to this, death to that, this shall be liberated, this shall be free, the Mahdi will appear at the bottom of the well, or whatever the myth is, he said you cannot run a country on slogans, but slogans are a big deal in the culture.
But to kind of digress a little bit, we're talking about the religious situation over here, if you want to call it that, but also the perspective of an Iranian who has dealt with the Islamic Republic and the repercussions of it, and also witnessed it over years. So it's not like it's not just something that you saw on TikTok in passing. We've known this thing and studied it for decades, and pretty much the entirety of our lives. So how important do you think is that perspective for people who are here in the West, who are drawing their own conclusion about what's been going on in Iran the past couple of months?
Well, so here we are. Today is the 2-week anniversary of the war. I don't know if anniversary is the right word, but 2-week mark since it all happened. I myself, it was roughly sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. I go to bed very late. I finally saw the headlines saying, Israel and U.S. start airstrikes on Iran. I was like, oh, is this the moment that I have both been afraid of but knew was inevitable my entire life? It finally happened. And you can say we have in the U.S. a president crazy enough to do it. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of that guy at all. I don't really want to touch on that, but let's make it clear I'm not a fan. I had 3 opportunities to vote for him. I voted for him 0. I don't vote, and I don't care whose feelings there. I don't vote. I'm going to make it very clear in this country, I don't like either side. I despise both. So I don't vote. Neither side speaks to me. And I don't believe in voting out of spite. Well, just vote for this person to not vote for that person. I don't do anything like that out of spite. No, if my heart and my emotions are not all in on something, I will gladly abstain, and I don't have to explain shit to you about it. No, neither side, especially the last dozen years, neither side has spoken to me in any capacity. They're both fucking embarrassing as can get. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not voting out of spite. I'm not voting just because, I don't care what you call good or evil. I don't care. I don't have any dog in this fight. And until somebody speaks to me, in many, many ways, and I feel passionate about it, then I'll go to the polling station. But the last dozen years, especially the since Trump part 1, I'm like, oh my God, it's all just across the board embarrassing,
Mm-hmm. So you were saying about the situation in Iran.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy on so many levels. I wanted, I'm glad that scumbag is gone. Oh, did I say that? Okay. Yeah, I'm glad. And then of course they just shoehorn in his son, who there's even.
Bro, have you seen the cardboard?
Was that real?
That's real.
Are they that desperate?
So
are they really that fucking lost?
This is like, it's like the meme of the century, but due to the I guess some of the gravity of the situation and how a lot of people are up in arms about it, unfortunately, I know it's not a time to be humorous, but this is fucking funny, man. Like, you can't take that away from me. Like, they literally so I don't know if anyone wants to look this up, but I'll just explain very briefly. So the Supreme Leader Khamenei, he gets turned into what we call a cutlet every time one of these guys gets hit by a rocket. And that happens to him, obviously.
And how fast it happened. It happened in like hours.
Yeah, it happened on the first day. I like some of the memes saying bro's got no aura, But you know what happens is obviously his son then gets appointed supreme leader, which by the way is extremely ironic because that's how a monarchy would have worked, you know. So this is that to kind of keep in mind. But I think
Some
his
North
son
Korea vibes there, huh?
yeah, but I think his son got hit on that same first day or first couple of days or something because apparently he's been in a hospital somewhere. So at the same, I think the guy's like in a coma or something. That's what the intel says, at least the publicly available intel. That the current supreme leader, I don't think he even knows he's become a supreme leader because he's been in coma the whole time. So what they did on this, like, this is a national television in Iran. They brought this bunch of these fucking, you know, fanatical Muslims and mullahs or whatever. They bring this fucking cardboard of the guy to the meeting, and they're all there like, you know, hitting themselves in the head. Oh, this is our new supreme leader. And the thing is, my friend Amir Reza Poursefi, he's got a, you know, he's kind of like a more of a mainstream kind of figure in Iran, but you know, he's been a friend of mine for years, and he made this really funny bit about it. He's a funny guy, and he was saying like, have you noticed that the Islamic Republic is so desperate they don't even have the budget for standing cardboards anymore, because that's what they used to do before. And he showed a bunch of examples of like standing cardboards of like Khamenei and whatever, and then this one's not even standing, it's just literally a fucking cardboard with like the guy's face like slapped on it, and all these fucking idiots are like passing it around and crying, oh, our new supreme leader. I don't know, man, it's just fucking, like, it's so fucking stupid and just bizarre and just strange to look at. It's like, really, are these the fucking people responsible for thousands and thousands of Iranians dying in the last few months? Because that's fucking atrocious. Fuck these cunts. Go to hell.
Yeah.
I have spoken.
Yeah. I would speculate that, I mean, the first day of the bombardment, I would speculate the whole Khamenei family was huddled together, you know, calling them rats like they are. Because what didn't the mother, Ali's wife, also get taken out, and several grandchildren, like a big chunk of that family became kotlets.
But what they're saying is that, like, just so people understand, that Khamenei, for many, many years, has been strongly claiming that he's actually amongst the descendants of Muhammad. I'm just going to put that out there so people are aware of, like, at least what the Shiites think about Khamenei and his family. It's just putting that out there.
That's fucking embarrassing.
Did you not know that?
No, I mean, I would assume that the black turban is indicative of that. I mean, isn't that the lineage? Like, black turban means that through some way, shape, or form, you can trace your lineage to Muhammad. And then the white turban just means you went to school for it. Something to that effect. That's my understanding. I try not to even think about it. Those turbans are just embarrassing in general. I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
again, how interestingly similar to what a monarchy would have looked like when all these people are so against it.
Well, I mean,
I'm not even advocating for it. I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out the pure irony, or irony, I should say.
Well, Jesus. Another slogan that has manifested over the years is the English translation. The crown turned into the turban. Like, what really changed? Nothing, you know? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would argue a lot changed for the worse. Fucking hell.
Sure, but I mean,
yeah.
When these, you know, millions, the whole country, the nation, got duped and deceived by Khomeini that he was going to, you know, make everything better than the Shah. They say that, you know, the crown turned into a turban, but and yeah, everything. Of course, everything's worse. My God, like, you can't be a pariah nation, a rogue state, with no allies other than a few militias in some, you know, ass backwards places of the Middle East. Not that those countries aren't fantastic, but where the militias aren't, where they have their strongholds and their, you know, their bases and fortresses are, you know, I wouldn't want to be in that part of Yemen or Lebanon. Hell no.
Yeah.
But so yeah, this is the moment that I've also I rode the fine line between dreading it my whole life, but yet also wanting it, not just for, you know, a little bit of a selfish angle. Sure, of course, because I'm a human being and that's normal. Uh, for my family, especially for my parents who are well into their senior age right now. You know, I wanted them to see a liberated Iran that they could go back and, you know, as much as they could recapture some of their youth from, but also for the greater good of all Iranians around the planet, diaspora included, and humanity. You know, I mean, that terrorist nation tentacles reach far and wide. I mean, they want you, they're going to get you. You know, the classic tale of Feridun Farrokhzad, you know, and going, was it Germany, where they killed him in his apartment, you know, and it was such a brutal killing. I heard that they cut off his dick and stuck it in his mouth because he was gay, and that's just one way to just heckle him as they murdered him, you know. And it's like, oh my God, these people are fucking the worst on earth, you know. I mean, to send your agents to a faraway land to commit murder, a very heinous murder, you know, just, yeah, these people, they need to go. The regime has to go, you know. And, you know, it's super easy in this country. It's, you know, chic to say, I hate Donald Trump, blah, blah, you know, oh my God, I hate this billionaire, doesn't even know I came out of my father's penis. It's a thing. So it's very convenient to hate as a non-Iranian. I know the situation is very polarizing and divisive among Iranians too. Of course it is. When have we gone along in the last 50 years?
Well, I don't know, man. It always seems to me like, I know what you're referring to, but when it comes to Iranians, it's generally speaking, based on what I've seen, there's 80% of the ones that are on the inside, or the ones that have at least been brought up in Iran, are generally in favor of what's happening. And it's always the cunts that have like never been there, or are like have some kind of like a connection, or are somehow like they actually want the Islamic Republic to stay, that are or they're amongst the 2 days. They're amongst the fucking communists that got us in this mess to begin with. Usually, you know, other than those exceptional few, most everyone is glad to see how this is happening. But what I will add to that, just as nuance, don't forget what you're gonna say, is that, you know, to me, I did an interview on Wyatt's Metal channel, and it was a fantastic interview. He did a great job conducting it and just giving me room and space to kind of come and discuss this issue. And I said it on there, you know, this was before they actually, the strikes happened against Tehran and the spots all across Iran. And I said, look, I reserve and withhold my judgment and until I see how they're actually going to do this. And I want them to keep it as surgical as possible. Okay, now I don't expect it to be perfect, but I want them to be fucking surgical, you know, because, you know, once civilians start getting hurt, which again, you know, the Islamic Republic probably wouldn't even necessarily want to stand in the way of that, because one thing that people need to realize, these fucking terrorists, they've not even been doing air raid sirens or anything. They've cut off the internet. The only bomb shelters are to store other bombs. You know, so like they don't want to protect people, you know. It's just like they, you know, it frustrates me when people over here are not able to see through the colors clearly, okay, you know, and then they'll do all these mental gymnastics of like, oh, war is bad. Yeah, I fucking agree. War is fucking terrible. I don't want to see it. And there's the issue of military-industrial complex. I 100% am aware of these things, and they are terrible things, but Iranians aren't fucking stupid for saying, come and please bomb these people. Come and please get rid of them, because if you don't finish the job, that's going to come back. It's going to fucking come back. Look at it like this. Think of the Islamic Republic as a cancer, and Iran is the cancer patient, okay? Once you start proceeding with chemotherapy and doing surgeries, you need to destroy the tumor completely. If you don't, it's going to grow back. And also, every time you do this chemotherapy or the procedure, you know that the patient's going to get weaker and weaker. So what you need to do, now that you've started it, you need to fucking finish the job. Because if you leave it, the cancer is going to start spreading again. And also, at the same time, what's going to happen is that if you're going to have to then attack again at another point, do another procedure, shall we say, the country's going to be even weaker. And it's going to get to the point where there's like, you can't do anything anymore, all right? And then there's so much death and blood for no fucking reason. So this is my take on it, okay? It's like, as brutal as it might sound, you need to fucking finish the job and let the people fucking build it from the ground up. But if you let this fucking cancer continue, mark my words, first of all the Iranian people are gonna fucking turn against the US and the rest of the world, and it's not gonna be a fucking good situation. You think the Middle East is fucking destabilized now? If the Iran situation doesn't get fucking sorted out soon, this is gonna get a lot fucking worse than anyone's ever known it. And this is the thing that we're trying to fucking warn against. This is why so many people aren't necessarily justifying acts of war, but they want this procedure to be quick and successful and surgical as much as possible, and they want to see this fucking cancer gone from the face of the earth permanently. It's very important to understand that perspective.
Well, yeah, no, I cannot disagree with anything you said. I want to add, though, I think you just maybe overlooked it, but I mean, I know you have very much awareness of this. There is now that Israel's involved, and it's now kind of a fad to be anti-Israel, especially here in the West. Israel's involvement in that. We're doing this for Israel. It's just, and also it is a bit of a bad look that there wasn't a coalition. Like, it doesn't need to be like Iraq was in 2000, but the U.S. and Israel doing this on their own really makes, in some people's eyes, even more than they have ever perceived. This exacerbated their belief that the U.S. is Israel's lapdog. So the whole bash Israel train that a lot of people are unfortunately on now. The way I see it is, Iranians have enough of their own problems. We're a fucking wreck. We have been for almost 50 years. And not that it was utopia under the Shah. I'm not even touching that. But, we've had lots of problems in the last fucking century. We could even say since, the first Reza Shah and, him being forced to abdicate by the Allies. And then, of course, the whole Mossadegh mess. People love to romanticize that. Mossadegh would have been, a Christ-like. I don't know that. I mean, aren't we used to these leaders in Iran giving us all these promises and hope and slogans and not delivering shit? So yeah, maybe
I must admit,
Mossadegh would have.
Very sorry to interrupt your flow there, because it's really glad you brought this up. I have over time become slightly less favorable of Mossadegh and the situation, because I feel like he's actually, no one like really blames him for what happened, and I'm not saying that he's 100% to be blamed, but maybe to an extent he is, because if he was a little bit smarter in how he handled things, a lot of the butterfly effects that happened afterwards, which were absolutely negative for Iran, maybe they could have been a bit different if he had acted maybe a little less emotionally. Sure. And I don't know, like, I wasn't there, how he exactly like cut off the access to the British.
And what those conversations looked like in person. Fucking long, did it?
No, it didn't.
So it's very easy to romanticize Mossadegh and if they just left him alone, the whole world. Even today, the fabric of the whole world would have been different. Maybe. The whole everything and all the variables with Mossadegh and that scenario are a bunch of maybes. And, hey, we just don't know. Yeah, it was a shitty situation. And yeah, he grandstanded a lot. He promised, all this, utopia, of course, communist leaning, but it's like, I just don't know, man.
Yeah, that's the other problem as well. Yeah, it's the socialist communist leaning thing. It's not, that needs to be studied, and what it was responsible for. Yeah.
And Iranians are used to getting backstabbed and betrayed by leadership. So I don't, Mossadegh promised all this, utopia shit, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, he could have been, so did Khomeini, and look how well that fucking paid off. Jesus Christ. So yeah. And here, of course, this is also a very variable thing, and of course they're grasping at whatever they can here because, they want to bash Trump. and his face and Netanyahu's face are attached to this situation. But the Epstein files, which I have awareness of. I never really dove deep into that. I don't fucking care. Gee, billionaires, rich people, celebrities acting like degenerates. So another Tuesday, another normal day. What am I supposed to be shocked about here? What am I gasping about here? Isn't this what these fuckers do? This is normal. It's awful. I don't, but I mean, you act like it's some big shock.
Yeah, but but also it shouldn't be normalized. And I know what you're referring to, but
I am not condoning it. I'm not saying I'm in favor of their behavior, but it's like, what am I shocked about? I just go, it's just a fucking Tuesday, Wednesday to these people. But obviously, a lot of the Epstein files got leaked shortly before the war. So, this is just a distraction from the Epstein files. Maybe, that's a very convenient excuse too, though. I mean, if the war started and then the Epstein files got leaked right now today, 2 weeks after the war, what would you say then? Like the whole sequence of events, the timeline. Yeah. But again, maybe everybody's, a Facebook expert. Everybody went to YouTube University. Come on, man. Like, the Iran and the greater good of the world, the Iranian diaspora needed this. We shouldn't be ashamed and embarrassed anymore, almost 50 years later, to say we are Iranian. My poor father, I may have touched upon this in our first interview. My poor father, of course, the revolution, the hostage taking, anti-Iran in goddamn Mississippi, anti-Iranian sentiment was huge then, huge. There's a famous picture of a white American holding up a sign saying, "Deport all Iranians, get the hell out of my country," from 1979. That. My father had to lie to the neighbors, the community, say we're Arabs. And I don't even know if that's the better thing to say, but it's the lesser thing to say. So, we shouldn't be ashamed anymore. We should have to go, no, I'm Persian, okay. I mean, so you're half of Iran's population, the Persian ethnicity is half, say you're fucking Iranian. Come on. Don't say it out of shame or out of some exotic, Persian rug, Persian cat, Beverly Hills. You fuck off. You're fucking Iranian. Stop it.
I actually really like what you're saying there, and this is something that I've come to learn a bit more about myself, but like Iran was never called Persia anyway. No. This is the historical fact that, and I know I've referred to it as Persia myself many times, but it's a bit like, when you have, let's say that's what the foreigners called it at the time, because... Yeah, exactly. Because the capital city of Persepolis, okay, so so Persia, so they used to call it that. So you know how in the news they say that, let's say, Moscow put out an announcement, and that's technically saying Russia put out an announcement, but it's referring to Moscow because that's the capital city. It's the exact same for Iran and Persia, and the old name of Iran being Ariana. And,
which we know what that means, but some people are going to make a problem out of that. They don't understand that the word Aryan existed before Hitler's father ejaculated into his mother. That word's been around for millennia.
Yeah, it has.
No, they can't draw the dichotomy. It's like no. That motherfucker hijacked so many words and symbols. Like what? It's like no, we shouldn't have to change our heritage's vernacular because some people are so fucking stupid that they don't understand that the word existed before 1933. Like, come the fuck on,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Sure. Yeah. And I think the origin of a lot of those symbols are inherently, some of the Indo-European symbols that they, I guess, kind of took and gave it their own meaning. But the origin of those symbols are very life-affirming, very beautiful symbols, and it's I personally am amongst the camp of people who think it's a real shame that they've been I suppose misappropriated in many ways,
Very much. Oh my God. Like the fact that you have to over explain to people, no, this actually goes back to before the time of Christ, and then they're just like, oh no, you're ist, you're phobe, you're ist, phobe, the only argument they have, when they know that they're backed against the wall. Oh, let me call him racist. I win. But
well, have you actually been called that? This is because
yeah,
I've never been called that before.
Not often,
for a good
yeah,
reason, but because I'm not. But
no, I'm definitely not. I don't even entertain those thoughts.
right.
But it's a cop out to just call someone that when they try to present you with historical facts,
Mhm.
some
well,
some
people do shit
symbols
like
and
that.
words have been perverted by the trash of human history. But when you can't win an argument, you just go, okay, sexist, racist. I won. It's like, no, you're just using cliche fucking tropes that don't even mean anything anymore because you've diluted the meaning because you overused it because it's all you have. It's the only fucking leg you have to stand on. Like Alexander the Great, after sacking Persepolis, Perse, the capital, Persian people. So the word went from Greek into the other Christian countries' languages. You will even see from like older globes, older maps that will say will show Iran, and then they'll say Iran parentheses Persia. Yeah, because I guess when Reza Shah insisted that the West start calling the land Iran instead of Persia, the transition was slow. It was like, you look at maps from 1980, they say Zimbabwe, parentheses, Rhodesia,
Yeah,
so,
sure,
it's a slow transition. But yeah. So definitely hoping that, it sucks when there's any civilian casualties, any non-combatants, anybody not any kind of military regalia. It's terrible, but it's called war. It's horrifying. It's awful, but this is what humans do. People posting comments, I can't believe in 2026 we still have wars. Huh? I mean, first of all, values are different from one square mile to the next, and ancient old grievances and hostilities will never go away in some parts of the world, in some cultures. I mean, they're taught that shit from the cradle, so yeah, there's war is unfortunate, but it's very much embedded in, being a human being. Yeah, just sucks, but yeah, humans overwhelmingly suck. Selfish, belligerent, self-centered. Yeah, dopamine hits. I'm hoping that what do you think should be next in line then after an Islamic Republic? I mean, after the revolution, there were many different political parties and political stances trying to vie for power in Iran. Well, we saw who finally took power. They got the most weapons, and they got which means power. So we saw. What do you think is the best case scenario for Iran after the Ayatollahs?
Well, the best situation would be someone to come in with a plan of a transitionary government, just to allow people to get the choice to vote in the first place, to actually choose who the fuck they want to have leading them. Whether it's a socialist government or I don't know. I don't know if monarchy is even going to be an option there. But given that, the most prepared person who actually has a large team working on this and has actually given out direct plans and orders as to how to create a transition, so like even considering things like public transport and schools and normal things can continue, is Reza Pahlavi, Prince Reza Pahlavi. And it's like, do I wish he had more competition? Yes, I actually do. But it's like his only competition at the moment, which is not even competition because she's so far behind, is the leader of the fucking MEK, which are a fucking communist terrorist organization anyway. And I know that all these fucking idiots in Germany are going to their protests or whatever. And look, at the same time, I want to say that I think Iranians should be entitled to go and support whatever the fucking leader they wanna support, because at the moment they don't have that choice and they've been getting fucking killed for it. So it's like, I kind of don't mind to see people having different opinions about the situation. Unlike a lot of people who support Reza Pahlavi as the transitionary leader, I'm not fanatical. I'm not like, oh, you said you don't agree with them, so fuck you. But what I will say is, and I've said this ad nauseum in so many interviews in TV shows, radio shows where I've been interviewed, and I'll say it here again. If the people on the streets of Iran are going to the streets and chanting the guy's name, saying Javid Shah, which means long live the king, which I keep saying is not necessarily a monarchist slogan, but it is referring to him specifically. It's talking about his return, and it's asking for him to come and lead the country. Who the fuck am I? Sat here in the comfort of my home in the UK to turn around and write in and like lecture everyone on intellectual matters and say, well, this is the reason why we need to be supporting a socialist government instead, and Reza Pahlavi is not going to... Fuck off, you fucking morons. Like, that's not... Like, that would be such an abuse of privilege, which, by the way, I've seen so many fucking disgusting people who are like supposedly artists that are representing Iran do, which, by the way, I'm starting to think a lot of these people are fucking compromised anyway, like at the way they've been behaving during the whole thing, like keeping quiet the whole time during the protest and then coming out and saying like, oh yeah, we don't agree with Reza Pahlavi, oh, there should be no war. I'm like, where the fuck were you 2 months ago, you fucking sellouts? Like, it's just baffling to me, and I genuinely think some of these people are fucking compromised, or they want the Islamic Republic to stay in power. I don't know. I don't understand them. I don't relate to them. I don't like dehumanizing people, but I'm genuinely at a loss for words for some of these fucking imbeciles. I won't name any names, but let's say at the moment, I would say there's not many other Iranian musicians who are active in the metal scene outside of Iran anyway. I'm maybe one of 7 or 8. Is there even 10 of us?
We all talk. Yeah, we all talk.
Well, I've stopped talking to 2 of them now since they've been so fucking stupid. But like some of those people, like it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you are so fucking privileged, and some of them, I know they keep calling themselves Iranian, but they've never even they've never been to the country. They can barely speak the language, and it's like, and look, I understand that, like, that doesn't have to be the defining thing for us. That doesn't mean that you're disqualified from having an opinion, but it's the fact that that opinion is so disconnected from the people that put their fucking life on the line and got killed for it in the thousands. They got massacred. They got fucking slaughtered. I don't want to go into the details of what some of these fucking Shiite militias that Iran brought in from Iraq to do the killing for them did, but it's horrific. Like, imagine the most graphic, heartbreaking fucking shit that you've heard. And then now some privileged fucking musician here who's like, gone and fucking, lived this life of privileged over here, never been to fucking Iran, never known what it's like to be oppressed over there, is now trying to fucking lecture me on like, oh, this is why I don't support Reza Pahlavi, or this is why this war is like, fuck off. Get the fuck out of here. Go to fucking hell. You are an embarrassment to Iran and all Iranians across the world. And when Iran is free, I'll promise you that people will fucking remember the stances that you took during these times. Trust me.
Yeah. And, we definitely have a nostalgia for being a monarchy. Maybe not so much the last monarchy, the last Pahlavi, Mohammad Reza. I'm sure a lot of people do, but we are a monarchy in nature. We've been a monarchy for millennia, there was that brief period of time we were under the caliphate. Thankfully, we regained our identity and we blended there. We took their belief system and we added our own myths and legends and identity to it. And then we still also maintained our very ancient Zoroastrian traditions, Nowruz is next week. Okay. Um,
I'm looking forward to it.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a very interesting vibe, I'm sure, for within the nation and every diaspora everywhere of this Nowruz in particular. Nowruz being our Iranian New Year to our listeners. So the
Could be crazy,
spring equinox is our New Year on our calendar. There are other calendars on the planet. You guys are aware, but yeah, it's going to be a very somber Nowruz this time. And you are correct. I did see Reza Pahlavi on 60 Minutes say, the interviewer, the lady asked, "Why now? Why you? Why you above anybody else who would be a potential candidate?" And he simply said, "Because they're in the streets chanting my name." And yeah, a lot of them were killed while chanting his name.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I haven't even thought about this till right now, sitting here, oddly enough. So maybe you can answer this for me. I mean, I don't want to just wildly, blindly speculate, but so most of my life, pretty much all of it, I heard no chance for the monarchy to return, no chance for Reza Pahlavi. Nobody knows who he is. We're so far detached from the monarchy now. It's been almost 50 years. We had a heinous war with Iraq. Like, the monarchy is, a dead memory. But why now, all of a sudden, December 2025, thousands upon thousands go into the streets chanting for Reza Pahlavi suddenly? How did that? I was shocked when I saw. I mean, I would have been shocked about any other Iranian protest. Again, another ordinary day, but a protest with chants of Javid Shah, long live the king. I'm like, wait, what? I thought there was no chance in hell of him returning, and he was just, forgotten about. So how did Javid Shah chanting long live the king and this is the final battle, Pahlavi will return? How did that happen suddenly 3 months ago out of kind of nowhere, at least in my eyes? You tell me, please.
It's an extremely valid question. In my opinion, it's not that sudden. This has been building for years and years and years. Do you remember Said Sakwi from like
yes.
20 years ago? What a brilliant man. Like, I only understand that guy now. For people who don't know, this was a I guess a TV host, kind of. He used to have his own radio show, and he was like the ultra monarchist of Iran. But like, pretty much everything he said was right when you listen back to it. And granted, I've never personally took the stance of a monarchist, but like, if you listen back to everything that he said about the Islamic Republic, about the mullahs, about how to run the country, he was true. I actually bizarrely find myself aligned with many, many things nowadays, which is curious even to myself. But that movement has been building for a long time. And again, not everyone, I keep reiterating this, not everyone who says Javid Shah, long live the king, necessarily wants monarchy. They're just choosing him as a leader because you need a fucking leader to get out of this mess. I think part of the reason why we've struggled so much getting rid of the fucking Islamic Republic is lack of leadership, which everyone keeps saying, the leadership coming from inside the Iran. Well, they've killed everyone. Any person that had the mildest ambitions of doing it, including those wanting to do it within the context of reform, have been eliminated. And reform is still no fucking good anyway. But this is just a fact of the matter. So like, keep that in mind when you start spouting shit like, we should stay out. We should let people figure it out for themselves. People have fucking tried. People have died in the fucking thousands trying to do exactly what you're fucking saying. So it's not like they haven't tried, you fucking imbecile. Sorry to insult, but it boils my blood when I
deserve it, man. I mean,
it's so fucking ignorant, man. It's so ignorant. It's like, yes, of course, we should have listened to you to begin with. How the fuck did we not figure this out on our own? We've had 47 years, and all we had to do was listen to you, Einstein. Thank you so fucking much, you fucking morons. So the thing is,
never apologize for insulting me. Yeah.
I'm not apologizing. No. So this is the thing that I try and kind of focus on to answer your question, is that I think what happened is that when the initial uprising happened by the Bazaris and the people who were essentially running the markets, and they closed down the markets because markets crashed. There's no trust in the. This is when I went on Times Radio, and they were asking me what the fuck's going on. I said, well, look, there's no trust in the national currency. You've got no future that is promised to you. So people are naturally doing an uprising, and immediately that snowballed into from the financial side to the cultural, to the historical, to the everything. And then everyone got involved with that. And Reza Pahlavi, for once, actually took fucking charge of the situation. He actually stepped up for once. And instead of just giving little statements here and there, he actually gave what we call a farakhon, which is essentially like a public, I don't know if order is necessarily the right word, because it's more like a
diktat.
It's more like a suggestion is a better way to recommend to kind of translate the word, like a public suggestion. And it's like, everyone come out on these 2 days, take to the streets, and make sure you chant, that, and you let the Islamic Republic know that you're not happy with them. And exactly in those 2 days is when they fucking cut down the internet and slaughtered thousands and thousands of Iranians. And some people could say, oh, is he to be blamed for that? Look, people needed a reason to do the uprising. People needed a reason to fucking stand up. And this was essentially what led to a fucking snowball effect. Okay, and then people were like taking to the streets, and it's not like this is a feeling or a sentiment that only just started now. This has been going on for years. And for once, he actually stood up and did this. And maybe, you know what, between you and I, maybe the reason why he kept saying he doesn't want to be the guy for the job, because he said this for years, is he doesn't strike me as a power-hungry guy at all. He looks to me like a guy who's been almost like forced to do something because so millions of people have like called him to do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, that's kind of the situation here. So he's having to like adapt. He's having to fucking take on leadership, even though he said very clearly for years that he doesn't want the job. And when I say, that sentiment goes as far back as even a year ago when he went on the PBD podcast and he asked him, it's like, oh, did you want the job? He's like, no, I don't want to be the guy for the job, but I'm happy to help with the transition as much as possible. And now that's basically kind of what's happening, but he's having to be more so at the forefront of it. But what's interesting though, like when I went to one of the protests in London, I've been in a few of them now, but the one in London, bro, it was like it was kind of nice. Like, it was actually very emotional to see the connection between people there, but it was like a full-on monarchist kind of a protest. It was really interesting to me. People were like really, really in for it. It was a lot of passion, and they not only had Reza Shah's picture, they had Mohammad Reza Shah's picture as well on like these massive fucking placards on the crowd and shit. I was like kind of fascinated by that. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Not saying I'm against it, but I was just like intrigued and fascinated. I think same as you are, like, wow, really, we're doing this kind of thing. Okay, well, no problem.
I'm sure there's a huge element of nostalgia. Sure, I mean, the nostalgia, going back to for, I'll say, the bastardized versions for Darius and for Cyrus, and then the all the Sassanids. I hate saying it like an idiot, but anyway, I
mean, Sassanids is close,
yeah. There's a lot of nostalgia for pre-Islamic Iran. I mean, I know it was 2,000 years, but I mean, not 2,000, but I mean, okay, it started then. But I know there's a lot of just nostalgia for all things and anything not Islamic, not Ayatollah, not Shia, not Mahdi, not Quds, calling Jerusalem Quds, like intentionally. Just it's exhausting. It's been exhausting. Your whole national identity is that of terror. Your passport is, I forgot who said it, but was it Montazeri? May have been. A Somali passport has more value than an Iranian passport. What the hell? Somebody said that, but just your passport just raises eyebrows. Just be, the nation being disgraced. the nation's whole purpose is just, spread Khomeinism and see Israel wiped off the map. Well, the person that said that got wiped off the map, didn't he? So,
well, this is what I keep trying to say to people. A lot of people here in the West are not educated on one, because Iran's, I don't want to say Iran, but the Islamic Republic has been playing this very carefully made game. Actually, I don't know how careful it is because they're fucking stupid. But the way, well, I say they're stupid. Not all of them are, but they are very messy though. That's the point I'm trying to get to. But they're playing two things. There's one face that they show to the rest of the world, and then there's another face that they show to Iranians on the inside. And this is how they've always operated. And I would have thought that with the age of internet and accessibility that this would reveal itself more. But turns out that if you reveal what they've been saying to you, I literally grew up there. I grew up in Iran. I went to fucking school in Iran. I went to high school in Iran. And in school, they would come and sit down and be like, yes, one day we are going to nuke Israel and destroy America, and we're going to attack. Our schools were fucking saying that. And mine wasn't the only school where I was getting told this shit. And granted, maybe it was a slightly more fanatical religious teacher saying that, but there's plenty of those fucking dickheads everywhere. And I remember being sat in a class where it's well, why do I want war with these people? They're cool, they make good music, they make, good films, and they have freedom, and they've got more freedom than we do here. Why the fuck do I want to pick fights with them for? And you're saying you want to destroy them. But now what's interesting is that given all of the information accessibility that you have now, if you say to someone that, oh yeah, Iran has been consistently threatening that they want to do this, they want to destroy Israel, they say death to America, death to the United Kingdom, all of these things, if you try and tell people that, they just say, oh, you're a Mossad agent, oh, you got paid $7,000. It's bro, I'm literally telling you my fucking life experience, and I'm not the only, I'm amongst one of 90 million who went through the same thing, and we're trying to tell you this, and you're immediately dismissing it before understanding anything behind it, it's
and what they just found out what Mossad is the last 2 years. It's funny, all the
literally, that's what it is. That's what it is
that they learned off the TikTok, and now they repeat them like parrots on methamphetamine. And they're like, oh yeah, Mossad agent. Why would you just pull that randomly out of the air? Why is that your go-to defense for what I just said? Why do you have to be right? Let me explain why I'm right and you're wrong, even though you, or not you yourself, but not me personally, but my family has lived through this hellish experience. But let me explain why I'm right, because I saw some TikTards. I call it TikTard because retarded. But it's fucking trash.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, man. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is.
I'm gonna. The one thing that resonated with me so much over the last few months, I'm sure you saw it, during the protests and before the massacres, but while the protests were building up to the massacres, that elderly Iranian lady who was approached by, I don't know, a TikToker. Somebody went up to her and said, "Aren't you afraid?" And then she's like, she says she's bloody. Her head's bloody. And she's
I know who you're talking about.
One of the worst. I have, as much as I'm devoid of most empathy, my empathy for seniors and my empathy for children, I don't give a fuck about people in our age group. We're fucking liars and degenerates. But empathy come on. But empathy for people, seniors especially. She was bloodied. Person asked, "Aren't you afraid?" She's like, "No, I'm not afraid. I've already been dead for 47 years." That burned in my head so much. That basically was like an image of my mother or any other woman in my family saying, "I've been dead for 47 years," knowing that was it ideal? No, far from it. But it was a fuck ton better, by all means, before the Ayatollahs came, the life they lived. I can't even begin to tell you in the last couple of weeks how many people at the gym, at a bar, on the streets have come at me and said, "Oh man, I've seen pictures of Iran in the 1970s, and the women look like women in California or Florida, bikinis and mini skirts and, high heels. I'm like, yes, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
My mother, her mother, all of my mother's sisters. My father didn't have any sisters, but all the women in that age bracket in my family, that's how they had it. And then all of a sudden, here comes, and I'm sure the famous headline from right after the revolution, well, one of the newspapers, hijab ejbari nist, the hijab is not mandatory. Yeah, that lasted about a day. And then, next thing you get jailed or otherwise even worse punished for wrong hijab. Massa Amini, So.
Massa Amini was the case of one of thousands upon thousands.
Yeah, I went to the most recent and probably what is the most going to be familiar for our,
for sure.
Our one of thousands.
It's actually not an argument to what you're saying, but rather a completion, because I know that a lot of people are obviously aware of Massa, but I'm just kind of reiterating that she wasn't even the only person that this happened to. She's amongst one of thousands and thousands, and I've seen it happen, bro. When I was a kid, I remember driving past some woman, who I think she just kind of lost it and she took off her hijab, and then everyone was saying, oh, she's about to get beaten up, and it's like that kind of shit that absolutely boils my blood, man. But listen, brother, this has been such a fucking great conversation with you today. I think we've absolutely done a spectacular run. I think
one last thing,
please.
When you may have seen it, when Ahmadinejad, became a kotlet, became fertilizer. First thing I post on Facebook is, Neda, you have been avenged. Neda Agha Sultan, the face of that uprising, and that just seeing the plight and the struggle of Iranian women, especially over, my entire life has just been so wretchedly heartbreaking. And then Mahsa Neda, that elderly woman, I don't think we had her name. I don't think we need it, but just seeing that and just how much hell they had to, and two of them died. And then this poor lady, elderly lady, is bloody. But the bravest thing, I posted it here as a story, and I'll keep doing it. People get sick and want to unfollow, please. I don't fucking care. If you get sick of me posting the same thing over and over, it bothers you. I don't fucking care. That lady holding her fist up, bloody. I'm not afraid. I've been dead for 47 years. Like that. That is my 2026. That image right there. Yeah. So. Okay, beautiful, thank you, man. Again. Hopefully in another 4 years we can do this on happy, positive notes.
We'll do the next one. I'll be over 50.
Yeah? We'll do it in Iran. We'll do it side by side. My God, yeah. But always a great pleasure. You're very insightful. You are my brother. You are my kindred spirit. I'm glad to help. I'm glad to help push your platform, help you succeed by all means. This is, I love being somebody's hype man. Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Thanks, brother. Okay, Appreciate it. Great chat.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, brother. And to everyone listening as well, hope this was educational for you. Hopefully you got a couple of different perspectives on Iran. I know I've been raving on about it nonstop for as long as you guys have probably known me, but I think it's good to perhaps hear that in a conversation format. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you like it, share it around. If you disagree, make sure you comment, because even if you do disagree, it'll help the algorithm. So please participate in that. I implore you to do it. But if you also enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a nice comment. It doesn't hurt.
Really quick. Okay. Payande Iran, first and foremost. Payande Iran. Long live Iran. So I'm here representing ViaOmega. It is ViaOmega.com is the website, and then on socials, on Instagram, ViaOmega, on Facebook, ViaOmega Magazine, and of course, when this finally hits the platforms that it's on, I will share this, representing ViaOmega and helping Iblis Manifestations and Cheyenne over here succeed even further.
Fuck yeah, man! I like that you pronounced my name correctly. That's nice.
Well, I can.
Refreshing. Yes, you can.
I'm not butchering it to accommodate. I'm not dumbing down our language to accommodate anybody. Learn how to say it right, man.
That's it. It's not Cheyenne. It's Cheyenne.
Yeah,
that's how you say it. There you go. Awesome.
You should see how they butcher my middle name.
Yeah, I bet. But all those links that you mentioned will be in the description. And to everyone who's been listening, check out ViaOmega, and we'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations.
Pleasure.